5 a.m., my usual wake-up time, and I found myself already awake. It had become a habit lately. For months now, rest had been a stranger. The bedroom window was a frame for the pre-dawn darkness, a familiar sight that made the memory of sunlight feel distant. Work started at 6 sharp, rain or shine. The upside was finishing at 4, which meant I never missed a moment of my daughter's activities. To keep the morning quiet, I chose the shower in the hallway bathroom, careful not to disturb my wife's sleep. She wouldn't stir until the last possible moment, needing to be ready by 6 herself. At 5, my daughters did the same, sharing their own bathroom in a routine timed to perfection. After my shower, I met Maria, my eldest, in the hall. I planted a kiss on her half-asleep cheek as she made her groggy way to the bathroom. A peek into Tara's room earned me a low groan in response to my morning greeting. 5 minutes later, dressed and ready, I began the daily ritual of making breakfast. It was an unchangeable routine. The coffee brewed, scrambled eggs sizzled in the pan, toast crisped, and yogurts waited for the girls. At 15 and 16, they were more than capable of fending for themselves. Yet this small gesture was all the involvement I had left. The days when I was their hero had given way to the shame of having a father like me. After breakfast, I did one last check to make sure Tara was up. I placed a kiss on Erin's forehead, despite her being a light sleeper, and left through the garage, burdened by the chasm that had opened between me and my family. The most painful realization? I hadn't caused it. They had simply grown disdainful, ashamed of what I did for a living. I was a sanitation worker. When I landed the job after high school, I was thrilled. It paid better than what many of my college graduate friends were making. Initially, I saw it as a temporary gig while I looked for something in the trades, but discovering it was a union job with benefits just as good. Well, that made it hard to leave. I knew that without a degree, climbing the corporate ladder was out of reach, and oddly, I was fine with that. After 25 years on the job, I had a solid pension, a decent salary, and excellent benefits. I was only 5 years away from retiring at 50. Then, things would change. I'd cash in my full pension and have the freedom to pursue whatever I wanted. When I met Erin, she was waiting tables to get through college. We fell in love, got married, and for the next 16 years, life was a mix of joy and challenges. But then the unthinkable happened. My family began to pull away. I remember the exact moment. It was at one of Tara's softball games. Another father asked what I did for a living. When I told him I was a garbage man, he laughed, thinking it was a joke. My wife and daughter overheard his reaction, and it marked the beginning of my descent. For the first time, they were ashamed of me. It wasn't as if I came home reeking of trash. I drove the truck and rarely had to get out anymore. A mechanical arm did the work in the residential areas I serviced. It had been years since I'd had to do the truly dirty work. Of course, there were tough days, but for a long time, it hadn't been all bad. I even showered at the depot before coming home each day. My family had never complained. They never hid my job from our friends. It was just a job, no different than a carpenter or a cop. But from that moment on, everything changed. Shortly after, my wife got a promotion to management at the bank where she worked. The accompanying raise only widened the gap between our incomes. It didn't bother me. I was proud of her success, but I suspect it bothered her. She started dressing sharper, buying herself nicer jewelry. I didn't mind. At 42, she was still stunning, and I loved seeing her dressed up. Her skirts highlighted her long legs, and the heels. Well, they looked incredible on her. She also started buying more gifts for our daughters. Perhaps that, after the incident at the game, was the final straw. Their attitude toward me shifted completely. They practically worshiped their mother, vying for her approval. I hoped it was just a phase, but that hope faded quickly. My girls used to be all about their dad. I coached their teams, played with their dolls, hosted tea parties, and even let them paint my nails and do my hair during our salon sessions. I was never embarrassed by any of it, not even when Erin posted the pictures online. I just figured it was what dads did for their little girls. I came home from work at the usual time and found the house quiet. My wife wouldn't be back for another hour, and the girls could be anywhere from 1 to 3 hours later, depending on their after school plans. I walked into the kitchen to start dinner and saw a note on the table: running late, dinner with my team. I sighed, wishing she'd mentioned it that morning. I could have grabbed a beer with the guys after work. Turning to the fridge, I found another note, this one from Tara: sleeping over at Jenny's. Another Friday alone, I murmured to Fido, my cat. A silly name, I know, but it made my girls laugh when we first got him. I'd do anything to hear that laugh again. I couldn't remember the last Friday Erin had been home. There was always something: team dinners, girls' nights out, manager meetups at bars. Always an excuse. The thought of an affair had crossed my mind. She arrived at 10, seemingly sober. On the other hand, was not. I'd spent the evening drowning my sorrows in Jack Daniels. Well, I slurred, nice of you to drop by. Are you drunk, Bill? She asked. Probably. Didn't have much else to keep me company. You eat? I nodded and swallowed the rest of my whiskey. You look amazing. I poured another glass, raising it to her in a mock toast, just living up to expectations. She just shook her head. Sleep on the couch. I don't want you getting sick on me tonight. Yes, dear. The next morning, voices pierced through my groggy state. The sunlight filtering in was a shock. I must have passed out because the empty glass was still clutched in my hand, resting on my thigh. Consciousness returned slowly as the voices grew clearer. Even if you're seeing someone else, he's still our father, Tara pleaded. Their assumption that I was too far gone to hear them echoed through the kitchen. I'm not cheating on him. Jesson and I haven't gone that far, came Erin's voice. Yet, Maria sighed. Girls, your father isn't who he used to be. We need more than a garbage man can provide, Erin stated. Jesson can give us a comfortable life, get us out of this matchbox house. It's not right, Maria argued. Dad might be embarrassing, but he's not a bad father. He was a good husband, too, Tara added, which gave me a fleeting moment of pride. You're in no position to talk, Erin retorted. You haven't even told him about tennis. He'll be upset when he finds out you're too ashamed to invite him to your matches. Tara scoffed. Come on, Maria. You said it yourself. You hope he never finds out about tennis or your boyfriend, Mike. You have to let me work on my plan, Erin said. When Jesson and I are together, we'll all be better off. You want good colleges and big weddings, don't you? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My daughters were hiding their lives from me, and my wife was plotting to leave. I closed my eyes, feigning sleep, unable to face any more pain. Get ready, we're leaving in 10 minutes, Erin ordered. I waited for what felt like an eternity. When the garage door closed, I peeked through the window, watching them drive away. It was the saddest moment of my life. My daughters were ashamed of me. Erin's plans to move on stung, but my girl's betrayal tore me apart. I showered and considered just leaving, but settled for getting a meal instead. Despite the hangover, I knew I needed to eat. The thought of running away crossed my mind, but the idea of wasting money on a motel room stopped me. I could sit on the couch and feel just as lost. I walked into the local family diner and took a seat at the counter. Though I was a regular, the sight of a beautiful redhead behind the counter caught me off guard. "What can I get for you?" she asked. "Black coffee, please. My usual is biscuits and gravy with eggs over easy and a side of bacon," I replied, turning my mug over. "Sounds delicious. I'll remember that," she said with a wink, introducing herself as Melody. "It's my first week. I'm Bill." She walked away with a bounce in her step, and I couldn't help but admire her figure in the black leggings she wore. The traditional waitress skirts had been abandoned here long ago. Throughout my meal, Melody served me more than just food. There was a hint of flirtation that I knew was likely aimed at a better tip. As a married man, I kept my responses friendly but distant. As I was about to pay my bill, a little girl coloring behind the register caught my eye. She was sitting in the booth where the owner, Al, usually perched, engaged in a crayon war with him. "The family's growing, Al," I teased. He laughed. "That's Melody's kid. Her babysitter called in sick today." "You seem to have things under control," I remarked. "You know me, Bill. Sent two to college, lost two out the window," he joked, quoting an old movie line. We shared a laugh. I paid my bill, and, as I left the diner, I felt strangely lighter. A little banter from Melody had lifted my spirits more than I would have thought possible. To distract myself from my family problems and thoughts of Melody's backside, I decided to go home and tackle the yard work. I was halfway through mowing the lawn when I saw my wife calling out to me. I ignored her, pretending I couldn't hear or see her. The sunglasses and the roar of the mower helped. After a few minutes, she finally gave up. I wasn't ready to face her. I still had no idea what I was going to do. I wanted to run, to take all our money, but we didn't have enough for me to live on until retirement. All I could think about was how to inflict the most damage in the divorce. If she wanted to leave, she could go. I hoped I could get the house and let her move in with her lover. I figured she'd take the girls with her, based on what I'd overheard. When I was done, I hosed the grass off my mower and hauled the clippings bags to the side of the garage. I took as much time as I could, trimming and edging, and when I finished, I liked the way it all looked. I decided not to use the weed whacker on Erin's flowers. I figured they'd have to be replanted later anyway. Tara came bouncing out of the house. "Dad, can you drive us to the movies? We're going to see Barbie with some friends." I wondered if one of those friends was the boyfriend Maria was hiding from me. "No," I barked. "I'm busy." "Dad," she whined, "Mom's going to a play and can't take us." I turned back to her. "Who's she going to a play with?" Tara looked frightened and stammered, I, I don't know. You'll have to ask her." I went back to sharpening my mower blade. Whatever. "Dad, what about the movie?" she pleaded. "Ride your bikes or ask someone else to take you. I'm busy." She stood there for a few moments while I continued to ignore her. I'm sure her face held a look of shock. I didn't always say yes to her, but I had never said no like that. Things were going to change from now on. She would have to get used to it. Every man for himself, I thought. I heard the garage door slam shut, and I just shook my head. The large garage door was open, and she could have walked right back out, but slamming things was more her style. 20 minutes later, my wife stormed into the garage, dressed in a little black dress. I was elbow deep in her car's oil change, and she was furious. "What are you doing to my car? I have to get to the play," she shrieked. "What play? You never said anything about a play." "I just started changing the oil," I replied. "For God's sake. I tried to get your attention while you were mowing the lawn. My colleague Cheryl has tickets to weekend, and her husband is sick. I'm going with her." "I should be done in an hour," I lied. "An hour? The guys at Jiffy Lube do it in 20 minutes. "Sure," I retorted. "But this isn't Jiffy Lube, is it? It takes me a little longer." She glanced at the engine, with the funnel sticking out and the air filter set aside before storming back inside. There was no way she was taking my truck. It wasn't in bad shape. She just refused to set foot in it. Her luxury Mercedes was her vehicle of choice. I wondered if her boyfriend was taking her to the play. It would be intriguing to see who picked her up. 10 minutes later, a sigh of something escaped me when an Uber pulled up for her. Moments after that, a car full of kids rolled up the driveway, and my daughters hopped in without so much as a goodbye. I spent the evening diving into divorce law, learning that the situation might not be too disastrous for me after all. The silver lining? Since Erin earned more than double my income, I'd pay reduced child support, and she would owe me alimony. The best part? While the child support would end in a few years, the alimony would continue, according to the state's online calculator I used. The next morning, I went through my routine and took a shower, even though the day held nothing special. I decided to get breakfast at the diner and then catch the Sox game. It stung to know we would have gone as a family if they hadn't turned on me. The girls used to love the Sox and going to games. Sitting at the diner counter, I greeted the cheerful face of Melody as she came out of the kitchen with a coffee pot. "Morning, Bill. What's the plan for today?" she asked with a smile. "Divorce," I said quietly as she poured my coffee. "Are you serious?" I just nodded. "I'm so sorry to hear that, Bill. Divorce is tough. Trust me." I shrugged and took a sip of the scalding brew. "Can I ask what happened?" "My wife and daughters decided I'm not what they want anymore. I'm a garbage man, and in their words, I embarrass them. Turns out my wife has been looking for my replacement without telling me. I'm sorry, Bill. Excuse me while I top off some cups." As I watched her walk away, I couldn't help but notice her perfect posture again. "My name's Lucy," a little girl I'd seen the day before piped up. She smiled as she hopped onto the adjacent bar stool. "Mommy says I can't talk to strangers, so you have to tell me your name. Then you won't be a stranger anymore." I chuckled. "Just knowing my name doesn't make me not a stranger, princess. But I won't hurt you. I'm Bill." She gripped her water glass with both hands, bringing the straw to her lips. The glass looked enormous in her tiny hands, reminding me of my own girls. "I wanted chocolate milk, but Mommy says it's not good for me." "Mommy's right." Melody arrived with my breakfast, gently chiding Lucy. "Lucy, please don't bother the customers. I don't want to get in trouble." "She's no bother," I reassured her with a smile. "It's nice to have some cheerful company." "Want a piece of bacon, Lucy?" I offered. She beamed and nodded vigorously. I slid the plate closer, and she snatched a piece as if it were the last one on earth. I chuckled as she stuffed the whole thing in her mouth. Slow down, little one. It's not going anywhere. She giggled and hopped off the stool to wander off again. What's on your mind, Bill? Melody asked, watching her daughter's boundless energy. Just thinking about my girls. I can't wrap my head around how they could do this to me. I recounted in detail how my daughters were embarrassed to have me at their games, how Maria didn't want me to meet her boyfriend, and how my wife was lining up my replacement. I feel completely screwed. Melody touched my shoulder. It'll be okay. I know. I'm just questioning this whole divorce thing. Maybe she'll change her mind and not leave me. Sounds like she isn't worth taking back, Melody said, her tone sharp. I was taken aback. Probably not, but I don't have better options. There isn't a line of women knocking at my door. She laughed. Bill, you won't be dating for a while. You can't just jump from one woman to the next. It doesn't work that way in real life. I knew she was right. It was foolish of me to worry about finding Erin's replacement the moment we ended things. She turned my face toward hers. Listen, you seem like a good guy. My daughter actually spoke to you. It took her 3 days to talk to my boss. She must see the good in you. You sell yourself short. You probably don't notice because you're so devoted to that woman, but there are women checking you out right now. You're a handsome man and you're in good shape. If you dressed a little less like an old farmer, you'd be quite a catch. Old farmer? I whined. She laughed again, a sound I was starting to enjoy. Yeah, John Deere hat, white t-shirt with a pocket, old jeans, and you carry a red handkerchief sticking out of your back pocket. I raised my eyebrows. What? She challenged. You think you're the only one who looks at people's butts? Now come on, eat up. She walked away to tend to her tables, at least sparing my grass-stained, stereotypically dad-like New Balance sneakers from her critique. A few minutes later, my coffee was refilled. I hadn't gotten through much of my breakfast before Lucy was back on the stool beside me. Mommy said I should leave you alone. You don't want me to leave you alone, do you? I laughed and offered her another piece of bacon. No, princess. You can talk to me. Why are you eating by yourself? Don't you have any kids? She asked. I forced a smile. I used to, but they're older now. Going out to eat with their dad is boring for them. You don't give them bacon? I chuckled. Absolutely. But they grew out of it. They prefer yogurt now. She wrinkled her nose. Yuck, that's gross. Finishing my last bites of biscuits and gravy with a sigh, I said, Well, princess, I'll see you later. You're leaving already? Melody appeared behind us. Yeah, heading to the game and then swinging by Home Depot, I replied. Sounds nice. I've never been to a game, she remarked. Oh, right, it's Kids' Day today. When my girls were little, we went all the time. They'd get so excited about running the bases, you could barely get them off the field. Cool, she said. And then I couldn't believe it, but the words tumbled out of my mouth. Do you want to come? I was as surprised as she was. I hadn't even thought of asking. Oh no, we couldn't do that. It's, please, Mommy, please, Lucy begged. I want to run on the field. You know how to run the bases? I asked her. She nodded enthusiastically. Yep, I played t-ball last year. I was on the Bluebirds. I glanced at Melody, smiling. So, Mom, what do you say? The game's at 1. We have plenty of time. She hesitated, biting her lip, but finally said, Okay, I'm done at 11 when the lunch cook comes in. You're sure it's not a problem? Absolutely. Lucy started clapping with excitement. I'll pick you up at 11 then. As I paid my bill and said my goodbyes, I couldn't wipe the grin off my face. What was I doing? Walking into the garage, I dropped my bags from Home Depot on the workbench. Erin's car was gone, but I ignored its absence. I changed into my old Paul Konerko jersey and dug out my trusty socks cap, the same outfit I wore to every game with the girls. "Dad, are we going to the game?" Maria asked from the doorway. "No, I'm going to the game." "What do you mean? You're going without us?" she protested. "That's right." I put on my hat and left her standing in the hallway, baffled by the sudden shift. As I pulled out of the driveway, I saw Erin pulling in. She honked and waved me down, but I just drove past, ignoring her. A few moments later, my phone rang. "Yeah?" I answered on speakerphone. "What is with you lately?" Erin grumbled. "I'm not sure what you mean." "Why aren't you taking us to the game?" I let out a short, harsh laugh. "Figured I should get used to doing things without you and the girls." There was a long silence on her end before I ended the call. I chose to ignore her when she called back and disregarded her texts, which were mostly just "call me" or "you're being a fool." The irony wasn't lost on me. Sure, I was being a jerk, but she was the one leaving me. Emotionally, I had already checked out, knowing our relationship was over. I couldn't stay with someone like her. The nagging thought that she was always looking to trade up haunted me. At 11 sharp, I walked into the diner and found Lucy at the counter, finishing a basket of ketchup-covered fries. "Looks like someone likes ketchup," I joked, sitting next to her. She smiled, her lips smeared with the red condiment. "Hi, Bill," Melody called from the back, walking over. "We're all set. I just wanted to get something in her stomach so she won't want too much at the park. I know how expensive things can be there." "Yeah, the stadium prices just keep going up. Death and taxes are the only certainties in life. She's young enough to get in for free, and our tickets are only $10, so it's not too bad for Family Day." "Family Day?" Melody asked. "I thought you said it was Kids' Day." "Yeah, they changed the name. When my girls were younger, it was always Kids' Day. And I know what you're thinking. I'm not trying to." She cut me off. "Don't worry about it. I know this isn't a date. You're still a married man trying to find a little bit of happiness. I don't mind if we're the beneficiaries of that." Wiping Lucy's mouth, she smiled at me. "Shall we go?" On the drive to the stadium, I learned more about her life. She had been married to a heavy drinker who couldn't hold a job. Tired of his lies, she had left him. He barely saw Lucy due to unpaid child support. I felt for the little girl. No child should have to miss their father. Melody had moved to the area to live with her parents while she got back on her feet. Waitressing was her first job here, but she wanted to find something closer to her old position as an administrative assistant. So far, luck hadn't been on her side. At 31, she was younger than me, but she had a maturity that only motherhood, divorce, and hard times could cultivate. The game was a blowout, but we had a great time. Little Lucy impressively finished 2 hot dogs and a Coke, her first ever soda, judging by her reaction. In the 7th inning, we got in line so Lucy could run the bases. The line was long, but she would get her chance. The team mascot entertained the kids, much to the relief of the parents. To my surprise, I spotted Jacques Dorsey, our town's Little League director, with his kids. We waved them over to join us in line, and I made the introductions. "Jacques, this is my friend Melody and her daughter Lucy. Just to be clear," I added quickly, "I'm not stepping out on my wife or anything. We're just enjoying a ball game together. With my girls all grown up, I don't get to many games these days." Jacques laughed. I completely understand. Luckily, I've still got a little one. This is Junior's last year in the league. He'll be 14 soon. It looks like I'll have to find someone to borrow a kid from. We shared a laugh. Bill, listen, Jacques, Jack said. If you're looking for a way to stay involved with the kids, we need a T-ball coach this season. Ardale retired and moved to Florida. Oh no, he was Lucy's coach, Melody exclaimed. Is that right? Well, at least you'll already know one of the kids on the team, Bill. Think it over and let me know. Sign-ups start in February, so you've got time if I can't find anyone else. I smiled. You know what? I'm in. Why not? The prospect of coaching brought a glimmer of happiness I desperately needed. Excellent, Jacques replied. You've coached before, so you know the drill. Nothing's changed. I'll send you the paperwork and we'll get you set up. The game ended, and it was time for the kids to run the bases. Lucy's excitement was palpable. Melody seemed to be having the time of her life, soaking in her daughter's joy and the simple thrill of a baseball game. Though our team didn't win, we had some promising young players, and I was looking forward to that. By the time we left the parking lot, Lucy had drifted off. Melody was quiet for most of the ride home before dozing off herself. Since I'd left my car at the diner and didn't know her address, I just drove back there. She woke as I parked her car, but pretended she hadn't been asleep. Thanks again, Bill. We had a great time. Thanks for joining me. I had a good time too. Plus, I landed a coaching gig out of it, so I'm pretty happy about that. I hope this doesn't cause you any trouble, she said, a hint of concern in her voice. Taking a single mom to a game might not be the best look. I scoffed. Honestly, I couldn't care less. I was coming anyway, and having you here just made it better. She smiled. Okay, Bill. Thanks again. I helped a sleepy Lucy into her car seat and waved as they drove away. With a sigh, I started the drive home. I didn't know what to expect, but this crumbling marriage had to end sometime. If I had to confront her and the girls tonight, the outcome wouldn't be any different than it would be later. Delaying it would only make things worse. Walking into the house, I was met with a cacophony of shouting. Voices blended into an indistinguishable roar of screams, yells, and demands. I let them rage while I grabbed a beer and sat down at the kitchen table. When they finally ran out of steam, I saw my opening. I'll answer all of your questions, I said calmly, if you answer one of mine first. They all agreed. What should it matter to me? Erin exploded. What do you mean, why should you care? You're my husband and their father. That's why you should care. I shook my head. No, that's not the right answer. I'll wait while you figure it out. I don't know what's gotten into you, Erin demanded, but I want an answer. Why are you acting like this? You know exactly why I'm acting like this, I said, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside me. You all know why, and yet you keep up this charade. It ends tonight. I'm done. I'm done with you. And while I'll always love you girls, I will eventually move on. Tara burst into tears. Mom, look what you did. You ruined everything. She fled the room, likely heading for her bedroom. Maria just stood there, stunned, as Erin's expression soured. I stood and finished my beer in one long swallow. Dad, are you leaving us? Maria asked. I scoffed. No, Maria. She flinched at the coldness of me, using her name instead of a term of endearment. No, I'm not leaving. You and your mother are leaving me. If she wants an upgrade, She can't do it in this little matchbox. Erin paled as I threw her own words back at her. She quickly regained her composure and shifted her attack. We're not going anywhere, Bill. I'm not upgrading, and we're not leaving. I let out a short, harsh laugh. What? Jason's not ready yet? Maria turned and walked out. I hoped Erin was prepared to handle the fallout. I was surprised the girls hadn't immediately jumped on board when the reality of the situation hit them. A flicker of hope ignited that they might come back to me, abandoning their mother's quest for material things. Erin glared at me. Still here? You thought I didn't know about Jason and your little upgrade plan, huh? Get out. The sight of you makes me sick. She left without another word, and I watched her go, feeling nothing. My focus shifted to changing the locks. An hour and a half slipping by as I secured the house. Dinner time was approaching, prompting me to check on the girls. I found them huddled together in Tara's room, and the way they clung to me when they saw me shattered my resolve. Dad, Tara cried, throwing her arms around me, with Maria joining in a moment later. Dad, we're so sorry. We love you. Please don't make us leave. Their tears pierced my heart as they held on to me. Girls, this is your choice. You're the ones who are ashamed of me, who want someone else. No, Dad, Maria protested through her sobs. We don't want anyone else. Maybe not, but you hide things from me. Boyfriends? Tennis? You hide me from your friends. Friends I've coached, driven, and looked out for. You're ashamed of me now. They kept crying, but I couldn't take any more of the pain. As I turned to leave, Maria grabbed me, pleading for me to stay. What do you want from me, Maria? What am I supposed to say? You're breaking my heart playing these games. I pulled away and retreated to my room, locking the door behind me. I wrestled with my emotions, torn between forgiving them and the raw hurt they had caused. Finally, they burst into my room, and we held each other, their tears soaking my shoulders. They were my world, but forgiveness wouldn't come easy. Erin's plan with Jason hit a snag when he proved unwilling to house two teenage girls in his bachelor pad. Surprisingly, the divorce proceedings were smooth. We agreed on shared custody, and with the girls choosing to stay with me while Erin moved in with Jason, the matter was settled without a fight. Child support and alimony took a bite out of Erin's promotion raise. But for me, having my girls was everything. The girls didn't lash out at their mother as I had expected. Erin continued to shower them with gifts, even buying a car for them to share. After the court proceedings, I had very little contact with her, so I couldn't gauge her feelings. As long as the support checks came, that was enough. It took months for the girls and me to mend our relationship. They claimed their mother had influenced their embarrassment of me, which I found hard to accept. Still, as they started introducing me to boyfriends again and handing me sports schedules, I chose to let the past fade. Things seemed to be returning to normal, but I remained watchful of how they treated me. The girls were shocked when I told them about the savings account I'd started for them. Erin had deceived them about college expenses, making them believe they'd need loans. I revealed the truth. A brokerage account I'd been funding since their birth would cover most of their tuition. It was something Erin hadn't contested in the divorce. The day after the divorce was finalized, I went to the diner to see Melody. We'd had breakfast together every week, but we hadn't been on a date. I planned to change that. She greeted me as I settled at the counter. So, it's official. The divorce is final. She raised an eyebrow as she poured my coffee. I was thinking, now that I'm a single man, you might let me take you out. Her smile widened. Like a date? Not like a date. A real one, I specified. Ah, worried about the rebound, are we? She teased. Maybe I should give you time to. Stop, she interrupted, her eyes sparkling. Friday night. The position has been filled. I stared at her, waiting. What? Do I have something on my face? She asked. No, but I'll text you my address. I've had your number for 3 days, you know, she said, with a playful wink, striding away. Now, let me get your breakfast. My girls were not thrilled that I was dating a single mother with a young daughter. If jealousy were visible, they would have left a green trail behind them. The Saturday after my first official date with Melody, I invited her and Lucy over for a barbecue. When I told my daughters, they suddenly had other plans. Dad, we had a double date for lunch and a movie on Saturday, Tara complained. That's fine, I reassured her. You can still go to the movie and have dinner. Just join me for lunch, meet Melody and Lucy, and then you can go. Tara stormed off, but Maria kissed my cheek. We'll be there, Dad. We just wanted to make sure you're not replacing us. She skipped away, as if she had triumphantly countered some threat she imagined I posed. Their attitude troubled me, but I tried to shake it off. I was up early, getting my barbecue sauce ready and prepping the ribs and chicken thighs. While the ribs cooked low and slow, I whipped up my potato salad. I was no pit master, but now that I was single, I'd finally bought the smoker Erin had always vetoed. I was realizing there were a lot of things I had denied myself because of her. Just as I was finishing the potato salad, the doorbell rang. I tried to get there before my daughters, but they beat me to it. Before Melody could even step inside, they started firing questions at her. Where do you live? Where do you work? How old are you? Are you divorced? They didn't give her a chance to breathe. Girls, Maria and Tara, back off, please, I intervened. I'm so sorry about them, Melody. I shot a look at my daughters, baffled by their behavior. It's okay, Bill, she replied kindly. They're just being protective, in their own way. Her smile was as sharp as a razor. Anyway, I continued, this is Tara and Maria. Girls, this is Melody and Lucy. Lucy hid behind her mother. I'd expected an outgoing little girl, but she seemed reserved. I took Lucy's hand and gently coaxed her out from her mother's shelter. She glanced at my scowling daughters and retreated to my side. Their expressions shifted when they saw my disappointment. Melody, I suggested, why don't you take Lucy into the kitchen? I'm almost done with the potato salad. Maybe she'd like to help me stir it. My daughters' faces fell. Memories of them as little girls stirring bowls in the kitchen seemed to surface, highlighting the weight of their actions. They knew I wouldn't tolerate them ruining things with Melody, and they feared I might find other options for companionship. Wait, Tara cut in. I'm sorry we were rude. I guess we're not handling the divorce and you moving on so well. I scoffed. You didn't seem to mind when you knew your mother was trying to trade up and kept it from me. Tara shook her head and rushed upstairs to her room. Maria sighed. Come on, Dad. We've apologized 100 times for that. Well, it's pretty messed up that you were fine with your mother's actions when she was trying to replace me. But when I get a divorce and bring someone I care about home, you treat her like dirt. You can't handle me moving on, but you could handle your mother trading up? I shook my head, my anger rising. You know what? This was a mistake. Call your boyfriends to come get you. I don't want you ruining our lunch. Melody gasped, and Maria fled to her room. I shook my head and sank into the nearby recliner. I couldn't believe I might have just blown up the relationship with my daughters. Maybe we should go, Bill. I looked up to see the concern on Melody's face. Lucy hugged my arm. But we haven't had the ribs yet, Mommy. I smiled at Lucy's innocent charm. She was right, Melody. We hadn't eaten yet, and whatever had transpired with my daughters, we could still savor our lunch. Let's finish that potato salad. A wave of sadness washed over me. I couldn't fathom why my daughters had acted that way, or more importantly, why I had reacted so harshly. I realized that the suppressed anger and frustration over their silence about their mother's boyfriend had erupted uncontrollably. I assumed they had left as I hadn't heard from them for the rest of the afternoon. Lucy devoured her share of the ribs like a force of nature, consuming everything in sight. She especially relished the extra cup of barbecue sauce I gave her. I'd made hers milder, since I prefer mine spicy. To our surprise, she polished it all off, which made us laugh. Melody settled her for a nap on my bed and joined me in the kitchen for an Arnold Palmer. I don't want to intrude or spoil our afternoon, Bill, but what happened with your daughters? I thought things had improved between you. I shrugged. I'm not sure. I might have overreacted. I wanted you to meet and get along, at least. And when they bombarded you with questions before even saying hello, it hit a nerve. I didn't expect that from them. It's a tough situation, she said. Meeting a parent's new partner is never easy. I know, it just brought back a flood of memories. The disrespect unearthed hidden issues. It hit me hard and I handled it poorly. I'm sure they'll come around, she added, trying to ease my regrets. I heard the front door open and close. Turning, I saw the girls heading to their room. I'll go apologize and hug them. Excuse me? Of course. I'll check on Lucy. I kissed her cheek and headed upstairs to mend the mess I'd made. In Maria's room, she was packing her bag. What's going on, sweetheart? She shot me a glare I never wanted to see again. We're leaving with Mom. Maria, listen. I'm sorry. I lost my temper when you were rude to Melody. But I didn't mean enough, Dad. You were right. You've always been right. We stayed with you because Mom's new guy wasn't sure we could all live together. They have a new house now, with rooms for us both. It's time we joined her, like we planned. I stood there, stunned. Was all of this just an act? My God, she sighed. You have no idea how hard it was to pretend while Mom sorted everything out. Please no, baby, no. She brushed past me, and I felt paralyzed, struggling to move, to chase her. Then Tara's voice cut through the silence. You should let us go. It's better this way. I hope your girlfriend and her kid were worth it. We might have had some kind of relationship after moving in with Mom. But now, I was still in shock when Melody stepped in. I think that's enough. Tara scoffed. Whatever. Enjoy your little house. I'm sure it's an upgrade from where you came from. The door slammed, and I finally moved. Turning, I saw Melody sitting on my bed, gently stroking Lucy's hair as she slept. I'm sorry. I don't know what to say, I murmured, entering the room. She shrugged, a tear escaping down her cheek. I can't believe they lied all this time. I was just a placeholder until their mom could take them, I explained, sitting beside her. She rested her head on my shoulder. I've never seen anything like it, Bill. I don't understand what's in their heads. I suppose you don't want anything to do with me now, I sighed. She lifted her head and kissed my cheek. Nothing that's happened changes how I feel about you. I wanted a good relationship with your daughters. but I'm not going anywhere. Their mother's influence is all over this. I didn't raise them like that. I feel destroyed. I've lost them, I lamented. Maybe yes, maybe no. The future is uncertain, Bill. Don't close the door. They might come back one day when they realize what they've given up, she comforted. I let out a deep sigh, feeling there was no hope. 3 days later, my lawyer informed me that Erin was seeking a custody change. With the girls now with her, she wanted child support and full custody. I told him to handle it. At that point, I didn't want to see them. Melody and I continued building our relationship. 6 months later, she landed an administrative assistant job, which boosted her confidence immensely. We lived together in my house and planned to marry in her hometown in a few months. Lucy was a bundle of energy, acting like a teenager despite her small size. One evening, as Melody and I prepared dinner, Lucy burst into the kitchen. "Mr. Bill, there's a girl on my swings," she said, surprised, pulling my attention from the meal. I rushed to the back door and saw Tara gently swinging back and forth. I was taken aback. It had been so long since I'd heard from either of them after their departure, which had broken my heart. Melody's hand rested on my shoulder. "Go to her, Bill. Something's wrong." A surge of anger flashed through me at the thought of anyone harming my daughters. I slid the door open with a thud. Tara had her back to us and tried to run at the sound. "Tara, wait," I called. She ignored me and bolted. By the time I reached the front, her car was speeding down the street. Lucy took my hand. "Was that your mean daughter?" I lifted her and replied, "They weren't always mean, Lucy. There was a time when they were as sweet as you." Melody asked, "What was that about?" "I don't know, dear, but something's wrong, and I need to find out." I kissed them goodbye and drove across town to my ex-wife's house. Adrenaline coursed through me, anger rising like bile in my throat. If seeing red was real, I was blinded by it. I pulled up to their upscale home. Tara's car was in the driveway, and the front door was wide open. Approaching, I heard shouting inside. Entering, I saw Maria in tears on the couch while Erin yelled at Tara. Her boyfriend was nowhere in sight. "Stop lying, spoiled brat," Erin barked as I walked in. Maria spotted me and rushed over. "Dad." She hugged me tightly, and I struggled to return it. Tara dashed to her room, and Erin glared. "What are you doing here, Bill?" "I want to know what's going on with my daughters." "Oh, they're your daughters now?" Not a word for months, and suddenly you want to play dad. Well, screw you. I held Maria at arm's length, gripping her shoulders. "What's happening, Maria?" "Nothing," Erin snapped. "Go back to your slut and let me handle my girls." Tara came down the stairs, clutching her phone, looking frightened. "Maria, tell Tara to show him." She handed me the phone with a video ready. I was horrified to see undeniable proof that Jason had been spying on them. Rage coursed through my veins, every muscle tensing. I gave the phone back to Tara and fixed my gaze on Erin. "It's an innocent mistake, Bill," she insisted. "They're overreacting." "Pumpkin, how many times has he done this before you recorded it?" I asked, keeping my tone steady. "3," she sobbed. Erin retorted, "Stop lying." I opened my arms, and Tara rushed into them, crying against my chest. "Girls, go pack your bags. You're coming home with me." To my surprise, they hurried upstairs. I couldn't leave them with that predator. I stared Erin down. "I assumed Tara told you, and you didn't believe her. That's why she started recording her showers. It's just a misunderstanding. He thought it was me." Were you home when she recorded that video? She looked down, then defiantly up. Yes. Before I could respond, Jason walked in. Well, the trash man came early. I turned and punched him square in the nose. All the rage from the last half hour poured into that blow. He crumpled to the floor, blood staining the beige carpet. I'm calling the police, Erin screamed. You've made the biggest mistake of your life, you son of a... I cut her off, raising an eyebrow. She glanced at Jason writhing on the floor and ended the call. What? You don't want the police here, Erin? Why? I challenged. She muttered, just leave. I pivoted, watching Jason stagger up, blood pouring as he pressed his shirt to his face. For a moment, I wondered how hard Justine Tucker must hit to break an NFL record, but I struck again. My foot connected with his groin, lifting him off the ground. The mix of shock and agony on his face was satisfying. I wished I had a camera. It would have made a perfect mantelpiece. Erin screamed and rushed to him. My daughters came up behind me. Take us home, Dad, Tara said. Erin turned, her words final. If you go with him, don't bother coming back. It's over. Tara's eyes flashed with anger, and she slapped Erin. Goodbye, Mom. Driving away, I asked, has he ever hurt either of you? No, they chorused. Maria, has he ever walked in on you? Yes, she admitted, head down in the rearview mirror. Why didn't you lock the door? The lock is broken, and the only other shower is in their room. We're not allowed to use it. Why did you run from me at the house, Tara? I wanted your help so badly, but after what we did to you, I couldn't ask. I thought you'd say no, and I'd be alone. A tear rolled down my cheek. How had things gone so wrong that they believed I'd turn them away? I'll always help you, no matter what. You'll always be my daughters. Understood? Maria added, but you have that little girl now. Lucy hasn't replaced you in my heart. She has a place, but she'll never take yours. Never. That night, tears flowed freely. Melody welcomed the girls with open arms, and they stepped into them. The pain wasn't erased, but it was the start of healing. Eventually, I got my daughters back. In the epilogue, when Jason left the hospital the next day, the local police were waiting. Tara had hesitated to involve authorities, but with our support, she found the courage to show them the video. Combined with Maria's accusations and Erin's bank records proving she was at work during the incident, it was over for him. In our state, voyeurism is a misdemeanor with a maximum 6-month sentence if intent is proven. Because Maria was under 16 and Alan over 21, he faced up to 10 years in prison and registration as a sex offender if convicted. The video Tara provided was the crucial piece of evidence, and certain legal loopholes allowed for its admission, particularly given that the girls were victims of a repeated offense. He received a sentence of 10 years for Maria and another 6 months for Tara. Erin did not appear at the trial, and the girls wouldn't see her again for nearly a decade. Maria was the first to marry. As we made our way down the church aisle for photographs, Erin was there, sitting alone in a back pew. They reestablished contact, but any semblance of a family bond had long since vanished. It was shortly after understanding that their biological mother would always prioritize her own interests that they had begun to call Melody Mom. A regrettable outcome, perhaps. But when you cast trouble into a whirlwind, it can only come spinning back in your face.